Let's look at now some examples to see how do the following affect US GDP. So now the first example is British Airways buys a plane from American Jets, the US aircraft manufacturer. Now, since this represents an export for the US, so it's going to increase US net exports and hence US GDP. Now, the next example is General Motors builds a new car factory in Texas. So this represents gross private investment. So this increases I and hence increases GDP. Now, the city of Chicago pays salaries to its police officers. This will increase G, government spending, and thus hence it will increase GDP. The next example is the federal government sends a social security check to your grandmother. Now, we know that government expenditure includes all government consumption expenditure and as well as government gross investment. How this excludes any transfer payments, which are payments made by the government to the individual for which the government does not receive any good or service in exchange. And this is the case with the social security check. It just reallocates existing income. So transfer payments, so since this represents a transfer payment, which is not included in GDP. So then we have an American buys a dress made in Turkey. Now we know over here, what happens is this increases consumption, but at the same time, this increases imports. So as GDP is C plus I plus G plus X minus M, so the increase in G and the increase in M offset each other and overall GDP is not affected. Because we know GDP does not include goods and services produced in other countries. So in this case, GDP remains unchanged, but net exports do fall because imports increase. Next example is Richard sold an old car to his friend. Now, this will again not affect GDP because sale of used goods or second-hand sales are not included in GDP as they simply just represent transfer of an asset from one individual to another.